Hi, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joyofbaking.com. Today we're going to make chocolate ricotta muffins, and this is what they look like. This muffin is moist and dense. It has almost like a fudgy texture to it, and it's got loads of chocolate, really deep chocolate flavor. So if you like chocolate, you're going to love these. So the first thing you need to do is preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 180 degrees Celsius. You will need a 12-cup muffin pan. I've lined my muffin cups with paper liners. You could just butter the inside of your muffin cups or even spray them with one of those nonstick sprays. So this muffin is really easy to make. I mean, you can have these from start to finish on the table in less than an hour, which is really great if you have a chocolate craving. So we're mixing this by hand. Just 2 bowls, one for the dry ingredients, one for the wet, and then we mix them together. So in one large bowl, you will need 1.5 cups, which is 195 grams of all-purpose flour. You may know that as plain flour. And we're getting the really deep chocolate flavor from unsweetened cocoa powder. So you will need 1/2 cup, 50 grams of unsweetened cocoa powder. Now you could use the natural unsweetened, or my preference here is the Dutch processed, and I am going to sift it because cocoa powder does tend to have lumps. And then you will need 1.5 teaspoons, 6 grams of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon, 1 gram of baking soda, and 1/2 teaspoon, 2 grams of salt. I prefer the kosher salt, although you could use just regular table salt. And then I'm just going to whisk. You could sift your ingredients together. Important thing is to make sure you get everything mixed in, especially that baking powder and baking soda, that evenly distributed. And then, because we want even more chocolate flavor, I'm going to add 3/4 cup, which is 125 grams of chocolate chips. And you could use semi-sweet, bittersweet, you could use milk chocolate chips, you could even use white chocolate chips, or like kind of a combination, which I'm doing here. I'm using semi-sweet and milk chocolate chips. Or if you don't want that, you could even leave that out or add some nuts instead, some chopped nuts. So that's simple enough. So in another large bowl, I have 2 large eggs. Have your eggs at room temperature. A large egg weighs about 55 grams in the shell, and you want to really whisk those. And then we're going to add 3/4 cup, which is 180 milliliters, 180 grams of ricotta cheese. And again, have that at room temperature. Ricotta is an Italian cheese. You can, it has like a really mild, almost nutty flavor, and it's quite grainy in texture. You can, if you buy it, I find you can buy either the whole, like full fat ricotta, or part skim. I'm actually using the part skim today, but you know, depending on how rich you want your muffins to taste, you could use the full fat. It's similar in texture to cottage cheese. So we're just gonna whisk that in, and then 1 cup, 200 grams of granulated white sugar. Whisk that in, and 1/2 cup, 120 milliliters, 120 grams of milk. You can use either, again, the whole full fat milk, or you know, you could use like a reduced fat. I wouldn't use like a fat-free because you need a little bit of fat to make the muffins taste good. And then 2 teaspoons, 8 grams of pure vanilla extract. That's for flavoring. And then we have 4 tablespoons, 55 grams of melted butter. So you melt your butter and then let it cool down. You don't want it hot. You want it cooled down to room temperature. That in there. lots of good things. And you can see, great thing about muffins, so easy to make. And these are just packed with flavor. So what I'm going to do is just kind of make a well in the center and pour all this in. You know, while these are called a muffin, they're, you know, kind of like a cake. So you could have these any time of the day. Okay, and then just stir this together. You just want to stir until everything's mixed together. Because if you overmix, if you mix it too much, they can be a little tough. So that's why I like to do this by hand. Sometimes you use a mixer and you kind of not paying attention, you can overmix when you're making muffin batters. So there we go. Check the bottom, yep, okay. So now what we're going to do is fill, I got all kinds of dirty dishes here. We're going to fill our muffin cups. I'm using an ice cream scoop. You could use 2 spoons. You want to fill these almost to the top. It's going to be nice big muffins. If you didn't want to do that, if you don't want like a really big muffin, then you will get more than 12. Okay, and the last one here. There we go. So now, everyone's oven is usually a little different. I find for these muffins about 18-20 minutes. So they will rise a bit. When you touch them, they'll kind of be set. And you will notice cracks on the top surface. If you put a toothpick into the center, you don't want it to come out clean. You want to kind of have some, like a moist, some of the batter, a little bit of batter on there, because I like them kind of fudgy. So I find 18 to 20 minutes. I do like about halfway through rotating your pan front to back to get more even baking. So, our chocolate ricotta muffins. So put your pan on a wire rack. As you can see, they've risen, they've got cracks, and a toothpick, insert it into the center. There's still a little bit of chocolate on there. So I'm going to let them cool in the pan, you know, about 5 minutes, and then use either an offset spatula or a knife or something to take them out. And when we come back, we will try one. So let's try one. I really like the surface of these, the cracks, kind of bumpy, gives some like appeal to them when you look at them. You know, you always eat with your eyes first. So these are still a little warm. Oh, look at that. You see the chocolate chips in there? Okay. The chocolate flavor it's really nice deep chocolate flavor. I like Dutch processed cocoa powder, and then you get the chocolate chips as well, and the texture kind of fudgy, which I like because and then that ricotta just adds moistness and flavor and texture. You know, a great tasting muffin, or maybe called a cake, kind of a cross between a cake and a brownie. You need to try these. And until next time, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joybaking.com.